Today, we're diving into something really fascinating. We're going to see how a popular, ancient story might just hold a powerful blueprint for living a more meaningful life. It's this amazing reinterpretation that takes an old ritual and turns it into a lifelong commitment.
So here's the big question, right? Can an ancient ritual really hold the key to a meaningful life today? I mean, we tend to think of these old traditions as, well, kind of outdated. But what if one of them was actually a universal guide for living ethically, for finding prosperity, and even peace? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into. The whole thing starts with the sage Narada. He's this great traveler, journeying across the world, and he's heartbroken by all the suffering he sees. But he learns something huge. This suffering isn't just bad luck or some random fate. Nope, it's the direct result of people's own actions, of them straying from a path of truth.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with how this ancient vow gets a total makeover. Then we'll get into its core idea, that truth is the ultimate God. After that, we'll break down the 4 pillars that hold it all up, see how it plays out in 4 classic stories, and finally, we'll talk about what this all means for you and me. Right now, let's do it. So, Narada, trying to find a real solution to all this suffering, goes to Lord Vishnu. And what Vishnu reveals is this concept of the Satya Narayan Vrat, which literally means the vow of truth. But, and this is the most important part, the way we're looking at it today is a huge departure from how most people see it.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The popular view is that this is a specific ceremony, something you do to get a blessing or good fortune. But the source material completely flips that idea on its head. It argues this isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's a way of life, a lifelong promise to live and breathe truth in everything you do.
This brings us to the biggest, most mind-blowing idea in this whole reinterpretation. Because to really get the vow, what do we have to do? We have to first completely rethink what we mean by God.
So, the key takeaway here is this. The vow isn't about pleasing some deity in the sky. It's about aligning your entire self, what you think, what you say, and what you do, with the supreme universal principle of truth itself. And this one phrase just nails it. Satya hi Narayan hai. It translates to truth is God. See the difference? It's not that God is truthful, it's that truth is the divine. And that single idea changes everything. Suddenly, worship isn't about prayer, it's about practicing integrity. And the stories used to back this up are just so powerful. Take King Harishchandra. This guy lost literally everything. His kingdom, his family, you name it, and he went through incredible hardship, all because he refused to break his word. His devotion wasn't measured by how many prayers he said, but by his absolute, unbreakable commitment to truth. His life itself was the prayer.
Okay, so if you're going to live a life of truth, how do you actually do it? What's the practical toolkit? Well, the source gives us these 4 foundational pillars of Dharma, which you can think of as the right way to live.
These 4 virtues are basically your essential gear for this journey. First up is vivek, or wisdom, knowing the difference between right and wrong. Then there's sanyam, or restraint, having control over your impulses. Third is seva, which is selfless service for the good of others. And finally, you've got sahas, which is the courage to stand up for what's right, especially when it's tough.
So how does this whole framework actually look in the real world? Well, the story cleverly gives us 4 case studies, each one representing a different piece of society, just to show that this vow of truth applies to absolutely everyone, no matter who you are.
First, there's Siddhanand, a Brahmin who represents the knowledge keepers. He was poor, begging to get by. And his suffering wasn't just bad luck. It was because he'd given up on his true purpose, to learn and to share wisdom. As soon as he got back to doing that, he found not just prosperity, but a real sense of purpose. Next up, the woodcutter, who represents honest labor. He learns this incredibly powerful lesson. His hard work is his greatest strength. By doing his job with honesty and with integrity, by basically taking the vow of truth in his daily work, he also finds success and respect. Now, the merchant story. This is a perfect example of cause and effect. When he ditches his vow, when he gets greedy and forgets his promise to be generous, what happens? He loses everything. But the second he realizes his mistake and gets back on an ethical path, his fortunes turn around. It's like a masterclass in business ethics. And last but not least, we have the king, who represents power. And his story is a huge warning against arrogance. He looks down on a ceremony held by people he thinks are beneath him, and it's a disaster. His kingdom falls apart as a direct result.
He only gets it all back when he finally learns some humility and understands that the vow of truth means you have to respect the dignity in every single person.
So, after digging through this ancient story from this really fresh perspective, we've got to ask, what does this blueprint actually mean for us here in the modern world?
When you boil it all down, the message is incredibly practical. It's telling us that a truly meaningful life has to be an ethical one, that real, lasting success is built on integrity. And those 4 pillars, wisdom, restraint, service, and courage, are as critical today as they ever were. But maybe the biggest takeaway is that spirituality isn't some separate thing you do on the weekends. It's found in our everyday actions.
And really, that's where this whole thing leaves us. It's not just a cool story about some characters from long ago. It's an invitation to look at our own lives, our jobs, our families, our place in the world, and to ask ourselves a really important question. What would it actually look like for me to take the vow of truth?